Hey guys, make sure to stick around until the end for a little bit of a post-debate breakdown and a little message I want to give to Kojo.
Yes. How old are
Perfect.
you?
I am 27.
Okay. And are you pro-life or pro-choice, Paul?
I guess you could say I'm pro-choice.
Okay. So you heard the explanation that I gave about the background, right?
Can you go over it one more time for me? I was looking at my computer.
Sure. So when I say pro-choice is irrational, all I mean to say there is that the belief in the proposition that abortions are moral is something that fails to conform to the norms of reason. And so as such, it's going to be a belief that is held irrationally, basically.
Can you explain what exactly about it is irrational?
Yeah, so when I say something is so you're asking me to explain what about the belief is
Yeah,
fails to
like
conform to the
let
norm.
me is it okay if I kind of elaborate on what my criteria is for that?
For what?
So, my criteria for like grounding something in terms of morality and stuff like that, right, is can you prove that whatever you're saying, all of your evidence is independent of the mind? And can you also prove it has an enforcement mechanism that isn't just the state or another person with X moral framework?
I'm not understanding the question, yo. So there's like a lot of dubious terminology that you're using.
Mhm.
So in order for me to understand or in order for me to answer the question, I'd have to understand
Okay,
what you mean
so
by terms. So like for example, let's start with the first thing, which is
mhm.
proof. So as I understand it, proof is going to be an epistemic device. And there's different interpretations of what proof means. So there's like mathematical proofs, which usually deal with like deduction, just given like rules of some like mathematical system or something. And then there's going to be proof in like the colloquial sense, which is like, oh, provide evidence for X. Is which sense and what do you mean when you say provide proof? What do you mean by proof?
Tangible evidence that can be detected with the five senses. Can you prove any
Okay,
of what
so
you're?
I
Yeah,
mean,
what was that?
yeah, so I mean, if that's what you mean by proof, then I just don't agree with your interpretation of proof. I don't think most people do either. In fact, most philosophers, most experts in the field don't think that's what proof is. Proof is not just something that's tangible. That's going to be one type of evidence. So, like, do you understand the distinction between proof and
Yeah, I
evidence or
mean, I
not?
understand the evidence, but this is where kind of like my hot take on philosophy in general is
No, I
most of
wasn't
it.
asking if you understand the evidence. I'm asking if you understand
Yeah,
what
I
is
understand
starting
the
to throw
evidence.
off. No, I'm not asking.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry,
not.
I didn't hear you then.
So I'm asking, do you understand the distinction between proof and evidence?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So then you would understand that sensory data is a type of evidence, not proof, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so then when you said that sensory data is proof, then you understand that that was false, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so then what do you mean by proof?
Well, here's the thing. Sorry, I guess I got my terminology mixed up there. But the thing is, my kind of hot take with philosophy in general is that it's kind of a joke because there's no way any of this can be grounded in any kind of reality. It's all arbitrary, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's the case. So it also depends. I don't want to be the guy where I'm like asking you to define all the terms that you're using. I truly don't want to be that guy, but you're using a lot of dubious terminology, which is kind of what's kind of forcing my hand to ask you to define the
Mm.
terms that you're using. So, like for example, when you say it's not grounding X, right? Grounding is a very dubious term. When you say arbitrary, that's also a dubious term. When you say reality, these are dubious terms. Okay, so like you need to actually understand what you mean by these terms when you say them. So, like when you say
Well, I mean,
grounding,
I gave you my criteria already. Is the
no, no,
thing.
no, no. You've never at any point in this conversation given me a criteria for grounding. You didn't even give me a criteria for proof. You haven't given me any criteria. So,
Well, I told
I
you about
mean,
the five senses thing.
yeah, but then you immediately conceded that wasn't even proof. That was just evidence, right? So I thought we already agreed on that. But point being is that when you say ground, you saying that philosophy is pointless because you can't ground anything in reality. The way that so there's two possible interpretations that I'm having of that, right? So the first one is that what you're saying there is that philosophy is like this aimless inquiry because it's just like it's not something that we can observe with the five senses. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily meaningless, but what I will say is that there's no reason to bound myself to any kind of moral system, including what you're proposing, if you have no
There's no
enforcement
reason.
mechanism or can't prove it's tangible.
There's no reason to bound yourself to a moral system. Okay, so what exactly do you mean by this?
Do you know how some moral systems will make you act against, like, let's say, your self-interest, like self-sacrifice, altruism, stuff like that?
No, there's actually a moral system that exactly allows you to do that. It's called egoism.
Well, yeah, we have debated before, actually. I'm the egoist.
That's why you can't be convinced of anything because you're too deranged. Okay, so how are you going to tangibly prove any of the principles in egoism?
Well, the tangible proof is that they don't exist. So I have no.
How is saying that something doesn't
Why should I
exist?
bound myself to something that has no enforcement mechanism and no reason to actually follow it in terms of it doesn't exist?
How is saying that something doesn't exist? How does that confer with your standards of proof? Now let's go over what your standard of proof was. You said that proof meant something that's something that has to deal with the senses, something that we can like observe directly, right, through the five senses.
Mm-hmm.
How can we observe through the five senses something that doesn't exist?
Well, that's exactly the point I'm making. So there's no
So
reason to
how is
believe it's irrational, especially if it's against your self-interest
no, no,
to
no, no,
not
no.
have an
Stop,
abortion.
stop. You're like jumping ahead in the conversation. So right now, what we're trying to discover is what the proof is exactly that's going to be for egoism, which is the view that you said you take on. I asked you to deliver proof as per your own standards of proof that you laid out previously of egoism. What's going to be the proof of egoism? And you said the proof is that it doesn't exist. How can, and by proof, you meant something that you can observe through the five senses. How is that going to be proof, considering the fact that we can't observe with the five senses something that doesn't exist?
Well,
How is that proof?
something that you can detect with the five senses. I mean, I'm sorry. I got kind of lost. What were you defining as proof and evidence again?
I'm going under your definition of proof. Your definition of proof was something that we can tangibly observe with the five senses. So then I
Yes.
asked you, okay, considering that standard of proof, how are you going to prove egoism? You said, well, the proof is that it doesn't exist.
No, the
How can we tangibly observe something that doesn't exist?
well, I'm talking about proving morality exists. The burden of proof is on you. I'm just
That's not
making a
what I
descriptive
asked.
claim.
No. That's not what I
Well,
asked
I'm
you.
not looking to prove egoism. I'm looking to see if you can prove morality has any kind of bounding
So
to
the
me.
thing is that, so this is what you're doing is you're burden shifting because
Well,
I
yeah,
asked
because I'm not making a claim besides its
you
descriptive
did.
nature.
You did. You said that. Wait, so do you not believe egoism is true?
I wouldn't say it's true in the sense that it's objectively true, but it's the most coherent logical system that I can follow right now, unless you
Okay,
can prove
so you
morality
believe that
exists.
egoism is the most coherent position. So what's going to be the proof per your standard of proof for that?
The proof is if you can prove morality exists and has some sort of bounding to me. Can you prove why morality
Okay,
should have
so
bounding?
what's happening is so we're getting stuck at this railroad, which is basically that you're failing to confer to your own norms of proof, and you're for some odd reason you're not getting this. Okay, so let's just go over this again. You said what it means for something to be proof. Okay, write this down if you need to, because I'm not going to explain it again. This is going to be the third time I explain this. You said that what it means for something to be proof is that it's something that we can tangibly observe with the five senses. So if we cannot tangibly observe something with the five senses, then it cannot be proof according to Paul. Okay, fine. Let's say that that's what proof is. How are you going to prove the claim that you just made about egoism, which is that it's the most coherent position that you can follow
The burden
according
of
to
proof
that
is on
standard
you
of
to
proof?
be able to do that because all I'm doing is describing the nature of morality.
God. I'm going to try this one more time, Paul. And if you can't answer this question, I will have to move on. Okay?
I mean, you can move on right now
One
if you
more
want. I'm not
time.
sure we're going to get anywhere, so.
Right. Because you don't have an argument.
Oh,
I mean, you
okay.
can move on one right more now time. I'm not sure we're going to get anywhere, so. Right.
Okay, well, that was fast. Well, that was a short ass debate. Honestly, there's really not much to say about it, but I guess I can say my message I have to Kojo now. Kojo, or just Kojo, you have bailed for me twice during our debates. The first time, I lasted around 25 or so minutes in a 1v2 against you and your friend, hammering me with moral outrage questions until you flat out said you give up.
Well, I don't think there's much else. Like, I don't think there's anywhere else to go in
Okay,
this conversation.
that's fair.
I don't think there's nothing that I can fucking say that's going to convince you at all.
Okay.
Like, morality exists.
I'll
So,
let you move on to the next guy, but thanks for the talk. Bye.
yeah. Thanks for coming up.
Okay, well, This time, from earlier today, as at the time of this recording, I got to ask you basic questions in a 1v1 on your stream about how you ground your morality and you rage quit in under 10 minutes. I have seen you go at it with other debaters like Dean Withers for close to an hour, as well as others. Yet you can't last more than half an hour with me on your own platform for some reason. That is why I propose a round 3, but not on your stream this time, because I am able to get into contact with a couple of debate panels, such as Wick TV or the Raging Tomato debate panel. I invite you on one of these platforms where we can have an honest dialogue with no ability to run away, no pedantics, no jargon, nothing but logic versus logic, facts versus whatever you have. I shall be pinging you here on TikTok so you can see this, my guy. I hope to hear back.